Worship leader quick tips. Prioritize the presence. A.W. Tozer said, "Nothing in or of this world measures up to the simple pleasure of experiencing the presence of God." Nothing is more important in your life than getting in God's presence. This is where you learn to know His voice. This is where He shapes you. This is where He comforts you. This is where He leads you. And ultimately, this is where we learn to know Him. David understood this really well in Psalm 84. He said, "I would rather be a doorkeeper in God's house than to dwell in the tents of the wicked." He was saying he would rather wait outside in the hopes of seeing God and being with Him. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day with you in your presence than 1,000 elsewhere. David understood that God's presence was sacred. It was precious. And we should take notes because it's obvious. This is a guy who spent a lot of time seeking the presence of the Lord. I'm certainly not perfect in this arena, but I've learned that my time with the Lord is precious. And as a follower of Christ, this is paramount. Nothing can compare to it. Nothing can replace it. There is nothing like the presence of God. But as a worship leader, we have a responsibility to lead. So where are we trying to lead them? The path into the presence of God must be well-worn and familiar to us. And if God's presence isn't in the equation, then it isn't worship. And if we don't prioritize the presence of God in our private lives, we have no business leading the way in public. Worship leaders, I humbly submit to you, we must seek His presence more than creating environments where He can maybe use or show up. I think too often that's what we're doing. We're trying desperately, I think with great intentions. I know you guys work so hard, but I think too often we lean on our own skills. We lean on our environments instead of leaning on and seeking His presence. It's more important. There is nothing like it. His presence is what we're seeking. Not to create some awesome environment, not to create a big show where lots of people gather. We're not gathering for the crowds. We're not even, there's an element where we're ministering to the people, but our first ministry is to Him, to His presence. So worship leaders, before you minister to the people, before you develop your skills, before you craft service plans and develop creative worship experiences, before all of those other things, I would encourage you simply this. If I could say one thing to every worship leader all across the internet, all over the place, I would say this: prioritize the presence.